Leslie Sanchez is a Republican strategist and CBSN political contributor in our Washington bureau. You and I have talked probably about politics for more than a decade, Leslie. So when you're looking at a campaign that breaks all the rules, it makes it hard, doesn't it, to predict what might happen?
You know, it makes it hard, and it's also really hard on the political faithful down in Iowa. You talk to folks on the ground, and you still hear a lot of people saying they're undecided. They really can't tell. Conventionally, they'd like somebody like a Cruz or Rubio. They really start looking at the general election. But Trump is an enigma. He has so much excitement, and they're really weighing whether they think he can go the distance.
Ted Cruz is trying something that's very unusual and very controversial right now in Iowa. The campaign sending out what looks like official documents saying voting violation for failure to turn out in past elections. The Secretary of State, Paul Pate, says there is no such thing as an election violation related to frequency of voting. Any insinuation or statement to the contrary is wrong, and I believe it is not in keeping in the spirit of the Iowa caucuses. Could this backfire against Ted Cruz?
It actually can. I mean, this is the second case. On one hand, you have the second establishment candidate, individual between the governor and now the Secretary of State reprimanding or saying something negative about Senator Ted Cruz. It's a very strategic play, but the thing about direct mail, it's the last thing people see. It does have a very strong efficacy rate. People pay attention to it, and he's dominating the media coverage, but really all of it is very negative. It looks like he's doing an undercut move.
Well, he's trying to make sure that the people who say they support him turn out at the caucuses, and that's always the question. It's one thing to have pollsters calling you on the telephone asking which candidate do you support. It's another thing to get in your car on a cold winter's night and head out to caucus. Are we going to see, is there the potential here for a surprise upset when we look at the results coming in on Monday?
Absolutely. I think one thing we have to really be mindful of is how fluid the situation is on the ground. Repeatedly, you talk about the southeast part of the state. They're really pro Senator Ted Cruz. You talk about the other part, western part of the state. It's really breaking differently. So people are going to wait and decide at the last minute. It's going to come out to who has the energy, the excitement, and they really are thinking who can go the distance in November.
Is there going to be any impact at all on Monday because Trump wasn't in a debate on Thursday?
That's the overall question. It's still too early to tell. I think it's becoming more of a blip. The party faithful are really where I think I'm paying a lot of attention. These are folks who do get in the car, they organize. More importantly, they are the ones who are they're fielding a lot of calls right now from Democrats, independents who want to be part of this process. So that everybody's really questioning what this turnout's going to look like. They're trying to be prepared, but these are the folks, the soldiers who do the work on the ground. And to much extent, they like Trump, but he's made it difficult for them because he's not doing the retail politics. He's not meeting them in the coffee shops. And they're carrying the water, but that's the reason they're not 100% on board.
But again, up to this point, and again, the real turnout at the caucuses will be the deciding factor about whether it's worked. But so far, it seems like Trump has turned these rules on their heads, that the former rules of campaigning and politics, especially in Iowa, New Hampshire, that it doesn't apply to someone like Trump. And because he's breaking the rules for himself, everyone else is trying to find their way. When he tells John Dickerson on Face the Nation, look, he's not even focused on Iowa. He says, I'm going to go and I'm going to get Virginia, and I'm going to get New York State, and I'm going to win these states that Republicans have written off as blue in past general elections. Is he right to have the confidence and to say the rules don't apply to me?
It's never a good move to think that the rules don't apply, because one thing the American people will tell you, they don't like this unfairness. They don't like the idea that people don't play by the rules. What's different is he's a cultural candidate who's a reality TV star, and any of the traditional political jarbs are like throwing cotton balls at him. They really kind of bounce back and have no effect. So playing in a conventional, retail politics position is not helping our traditional candidates. Again, it comes down to the party faithful in these early states, the folks that turn out, and they're really paying a lot of attention to who can win the White House. You hear it constantly. They like the evangelical message of a Senator Ted Cruz, but they like the aspiration of a Marco Rubio. So you can look at an upset. Donald Trump is a phenomenon on his own, and it's going to get more difficult, I think, as we start getting past New Hampshire and start rounding out towards Super Tuesday. It's going to get a lot more voters in the mix, but this early state is critically important for momentum.
All right, very, very interesting, lively campaign that we've been able to cover so far, and it's sure to get even more compelling. Leslie, thank you. Appreciate that. And don't forget, all day Monday, CBSN has full coverage from across Iowa as the state kicks off the 2016 election season.